Hello and welcome to Off the Court, an ANZ special, and it is special because we're going to hear from commentator Jenny Woods in just a moment, and Sara Bayman, her of England fame, Loughborough Lightning fame, Paul dancing fame, used to play as well in the ANZ, played a bit in the first year. I think that the split happened for Pulse, so we'll get her thoughts in just a moment. Tamsin, how excited are you on a scale of 1 to over the top? Not about the show, but about the ANZ.
OTT, over the top. Bring it. Come on, Friday.
All right. So it's mainly about the ANZ. So that will contain you just for a little bit. And then we're going to hear a great interview with Nat Panagarry from Loughborough Lightning talking about Pride Month too. So let's get on with the show. So Jenny Woods and Sara Bayman are here to talk all things ANZ. But before we do that, we need to point something out. We need to get some books for your bookshelf, Sara Bayman.
Well, I'm actually moving house, so I've just taken the books down, and it's a contentious issue with me and Stacey because she has about 5,000 boxes of books. So don't even get me started on the books.
Has she done that just, you know, some exercise, isn't it? All those books you've got to carry from here.
She's done that because she's not here to lift them, probably.
She's very busy and very important. I'm not saying you're not. But Jenny, you're also equally very busy and very important. I guess maybe talking about the ANZ is too, perhaps. Where are we, Jenny Woods? Not literally where are we right now with you, but things have changed a bit, haven't they, with the starting? How many rounds are we going to see? Where's it going to be? What's going to happen?
Yeah, well, you're right about the changes because, it's changed just about daily in the last week or so. But the full draw has come out, and what they're going to do is squish what is normally a 15-week competition into 10 weeks. Played initially all in Auckland. So this has been, it's been quite contentious because, of course, the southern teams are saying, well, hang on a minute, is this fair? But I think in this post-COVID world, nothing's really fair. And I think essentially most people are just delighted that the competition is going to happen. So the first 7 weeks are all going to be played in Auckland. The Steel, the Tactics, the Pulse, all being flown up by charter plane to Auckland each week. And as a result of it being such a condensed competition, the games are going to be shorter. And this is the other thing that's actually, attracted quite a bit of attention. So they're going to be 12 minutes shorter. So they're 12-minute quarters, 48-minute game, no extra time. And I think this is, I know it's been done to protect the loading on the players because they're still playing the same number of games that they would have otherwise. And I think people are just hankering for a bit of live netball.
Well, the joy, of course, in the UK is that we'll be able to see it on Sky, the televised games at least. So we will be able to watch it. And Sara, that shot, it's almost fast five, which you're a pretty good dab hand at, aren't you? At least coaching. But is that right? The reduction, do you think, for load levels down to 48 minutes?
I think so. I think it's just sensible, when you're playing so many games in such a short period of time and off the back of such a big break. I think it's a little bit different when you head into a major championships and things like that because you've had so long to prepare. But these guys are coming off the back of obviously an enforced break, and I think the excitement around it won't be dampened by shorter games and a tighter time frame, I don't think, because nothing else is being played right now. Everyone is dying for this league to happen. Here, I'm like counting down until we can watch some netball. So, I think it's probably the right decision.
But Jenny, I have a question. We've heard Sara saying how excited we are because there's absolutely no netball going on here. We're all gutted. We know now that the Suncorp is starting back up, and I guess people over here have fallen in love a little bit with the Suncorp. It's kind of got that razzmatazz, the NBA style. ANZ goes quietly along underneath. So you tell me why we should be tuning in to watch the ANZ netball, because I'm a massive fan. I love the Kiwi style. But I want to know from you why we should be all falling in love with the game over there.
Well, I think, too, you get the classic difference between the Aussies and the Kiwis, don't you? The Aussies, they're all flash and dash, whereas the Kiwis, we're a far more country of solidity and, just getting the job done. And I think it's grown significantly in the past couple of years. And I think the thing that's happened is that you're now getting New Zealand netball is playing New Zealand netball. And I think that's what served the Silver Ferns so well in Liverpool last year. But I think the other thing that's happened is that in the past, some of the teams have not been particularly even. The teams this year, I think, have evened out quite a bit. And I think last year we saw a move towards that, and I think that's going to happen again this year. And to me, look, you can have all the razzmatazz you like, but unless the games are close, who wants to watch. I mean, that's certainly how I find sport. It's the close ones you like. And I think we should be having a fair number of those this year.
It's like you and me, Tamsin, your style, I'm substance,
And I remain the water carrier.
Do you think part of that, Jenny, though, is how many young players have come through Beco League into ANZ now, and that's one kind of leveled the playing field, but also kind of like cemented that Kiwi style that we're seeing more and more?
I think you did right about Beco, Sara. I mean, it's made a huge difference, and you're right that that depth has been built, and it's something that we have had in the past every now and then, but we're finding that we've got more of it now, and I think that was the whole aim of the Beco. And in hindsight, that ghastly year, that Annus Horribilis of 2018, which I don't like to be reminded of, which I shared with you, Caroline Barker, has perhaps
don't say
now.
That's why it was bad.
It could have been. It could well have been, but it is bearing fruit. I mean, do you have to hit the low before you can come back at the high?
On that point in the Beco League, so the league clearly that's under the full-time pro league, how does that compare to here in the UK, Tams, and in Australia as well? And do we need to put more into that when we're talking about funding everywhere, but do we need to really look at that level if that's going to then influence what's beyond it?
Yes, and yes, again. Our building platform, our pathway through is just not there yet. When we had Karen Berger on the other week, and she was talking about, she came across to New Zealand, and her aim first of all was to get, it wasn't to play ANZ, it was all to play for the Silver Ferns. It was to get into the Beco League, and then she got Player of the Season in there, and then she got pulled up, and then she got a Silver Fern. We just don't have that over here. We have lots of leagues operating. We have great junior stuff going on, but the stepping stone from that stuff into Super League just does not exist for me. It doesn't exist for coaches. It doesn't exist for players. And until we sort that out, we do have a bit of an issue, which is why the Roses condensed their program and went into a full-time program at Loughborough, because they needed to give them that extra pathway. And I just think we've got to look at how the other countries are operating.
I know we've got to let you go in a minute because you're off to play basketball, Jenny, to put us all to shame.
I can hear the laughing. I can hear the laughing on this side of the world.
No, it's not happening.
Someone's so geriatric.
No,
never.
Can I just say, when I asked you earlier, I can't believe you're playing basketball, and you went, because I'm so old. I was like, no, because it's not netball.
Before we let you go then, is there one other player or one other team we should be looking out for?
Oh, well, they're all worth watching. I mean, I think the Pulse, and you can never write off the Steel. I mean, the one thing I was going to say about the Pulse, though, and Sara, you were thinking that the shorter games wouldn't make too much difference. The only thing I wondered is that, if they're always super fit, the Pulse. You remember when, you were there, and they often run teams down. Teams can go with them, and then bang, in the last few minutes of each quarter, they build up. They won't have that luxury of time. And the Steel are sort of the quiet achievers. They had a real blip last season by not even making the final. And I think that really hurt their pride in the Deep South. So watch out for them, and watch out for the identical twins in the Steel, the Heffernan girls, Georgia and Kate. Kate was in there last year. Their mother was a Silver Fern. Their aunt was a Silver Fern. They're great cricketers, and they're good to watch.
They don't play similar positions, do they? In a similar area of the court?
Thankfully for the commentators, no. Georgia's a shooter and Kate's a midi.
Wonderful. Keep them as far apart as possible. Jenny Woods, enjoy it. We look forward to listening to you, seeing you hopefully as well on Sky when we show the ANZ over here in the UK too. Thank you as always for coming on. Enjoy the basketball.
Yes, I will. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
So Jenny Woods then, gold medals ahoy. Awesome is the name of her basketball team. If you want to look them up on Tinternet, I'm sure they're right up towards the top of the league as well, and well worth a follow. Forget the netball, all about the basketball. Sara, your exploits in New Zealand, how did you find it? And have you seen, watching on from here now, just how it's exploded, how it's done so well, and whether that's why they've done well internationally as well?
Yeah, I mean, I was at Pulse in the first year that the league split, so 2017, and like Jenny said, I think the league took a little bit of time to find its feet in terms of the quality of players it had, but also the tightness of games. And they weren't blowouts by any means, but I think that there was a kind of divide between the top and the bottom teams, whereas now much more even teams. I think by trying to keep their New Zealand players in New Zealand, they've done a good service to their league in terms of that. And then, like we were talking about, the development of younger players through Becco, how excited I am about this league. I don't even get excited like about netball this much ever. So just some of the players that we're going to get to see, though, I'm so excited to see. And I think the only downside for New Zealand netball is everyone in the world will watch this league, which means English coaches, Australian coaches will be going, oh, that player's quite good. We've got an import sport. Let's try and get that player over. But whether you'll be successful anyway is another issue, because like I said, they've done a good job of keeping New Zealand players at home. But yeah, I think that the league has massively grown, and especially with New Zealand winning the World Cup, now everyone has to sit up and take notice a little bit more, because I think Australia were a little bit complacent in just letting the Kiwis get on with it and not kind of keeping tabs on them, and then it burnt them in the end.
But it was funny actually, because Karen Berger, when she was on, she was talking about they don't really have that necessity to go over to Australia and play. Sort of in England, it's like the dream is to get that Australian call up and go over there and play. But they don't seem to have that, and they've kind of just grown this league themselves. And the style is so interesting. And I know for you, it was such a good move, because the Aussie League and the Kiwi League are so different in the way that they play. Talk to me a little bit about that style. Why did that fit for you, and what does it sort of look like?
I mean, the Kiwi style traditionally, you've got a much more off-marking defence, so you're not so tight man on man all the time. It's more of a unit defence. You'll work together, and it was never about how many intercepts an individual gets in the game. It's how much ball does this team turn over. And I think that's a completely different shift to Australia, where you're going to run a player one-on-one, and that was never really. I mean, it wasn't really my strength. And so I enjoyed the kind of mental challenge of New Zealand. There's more risk taking in New Zealand netball. It's you've got more freedom to go, yeah, if you see it, just give it. Whereas I think the Australians are very much like, let's play without errors. And that's a different mindset.
We even saw that at the World Cup, didn't we, with the shooting, Ekanasio and Falau, just the long bomb queens. That for me just blew open the game again, because actually you had a shooting pair that were prepared to shoot from anywhere. And I think Harton and Housby come close to that, but it definitely exposed the Australian game. Yeah,
and because the Australians are always worried about who's heading to post, and someone was heading to the post, but they're not the person that's going to shoot. So they got done again, because I just don't think they expected them to consistently shoot that well from distance. And when you can practice that week in, week out with the kind of freedom of, probably 1 week we're going to have a bad week and miss a handful of shots, but generally they have shooters who are willing to shoot, who have confidence, and it did make a massive difference to them internationally, I thought.
We're going to hear from Nat Panagarry, who you know very well, in just a moment. A reminder, though, use the hashtag OFFTHECOURT, and you can watch those ANZ games across Sky 2. If you head on to the internet, have a little look online on the Sky Netball page, you can see the full listing of what's coming up and when. Let's hear now from Nat Panagarry, player, of course, at Lightning. She's been speaking because it's Pride Month this month, and she's just got engaged, her new fiancé, Katie. Let's celebrate both of them.
She's the England Vitality Rose who wowed crowds as a fierce mid-quarter at the Netball World Cup last year. It's fan favourite, Loughborough Lightning's Captain Fantastic, Nat Panagarry. Nat, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm excited to be on.
Nat, first of all, how are you doing in this strange time that we're all trying to adjust in?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm kind of enjoying being back up in Yorkshire though. That is a plus side a little bit. I've been able to kind of see my dog more and see my partner more and best friend. I suppose time I wouldn't normally maybe get, but yeah, lots of dog walks, lots of baking, I think, like everybody else, and just lots of home workouts to keep me ticking over, and kind of rehab as well.
And before lockdown, we also heard the good news that you are now engaged to your lovely fiancée Katie. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. I feel like I just kind of got it in the week before it all started, really. So yeah, I was was quite lucky, and like I said, we've had time to actually kind of celebrate a little bit together in our little bubble, so we lasted a bit longer than it normally should. But yeah, it was a really lovely weekend, and I've been planning for a little while. So yeah, I was glad to actually kind of get it in just before all this.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience as an LGBTQ plus athlete in netball?
Yeah, I think my experience has definitely been positive, and I'm not being naive to think that there probably hasn't been issues or people haven't experienced issues, but I think I've definitely had a positive experience and journey, and I've always felt kind of celebrated for who I am, and I think that's how everyone should be. You know, we've all got differences and we're all unique, and that should be something that we want to bring to the netball family and bring to the netball court. But yeah, definitely netball, I think, is one of the most kind of diverse and kind of embraces those minority groups. I'm always thankful for the netball community and Loughborough Lightning and the Vitality Roses for that. They've definitely embraced me, not just kind of the players and the staff, but all the fans as well. I've never felt like I needed to not be who I am.
That's really great to hear, because many LGBTQ plus athletes have spoken about really struggling to come out in their sports. Has that ever been an issue for you as a netball player?
I think possibly my journey may be a little bit different, only because probably when I was maybe having my personal battles and kind of figuring out my true self within kind of LGBTQ plus community was probably before I actually was semi-professional athlete. So my journey was a little bit after university. I obviously took a bit of time out and didn't play netball for a good few years. And that's probably when my kind of, I suppose, battles were happening a little bit kind of away from sport. So, and that's when my relationship with Casey did start, and she's just helped me massively and been so supportive. So probably by the time I did come back into netball when I was a little bit older and 24, I probably felt like I was fully myself then. So maybe that's probably how it reflects. It probably was all positive, but I probably did have things going on way before I was playing netball again.
And with the success of the Roses and the Netball Super League, we're seeing much more netball in the media these days. With that comes pressure for you as athletes to be role models, particularly perhaps for groups such as the LGBTQ plus community. How does that make you feel?
Definitely one that I definitely feel like I need to embrace. I think probably before the World Cup, I possibly thought I just saw myself as Nat that played netball, and that was me, and that was fine. But actually, I think since the World Cup, it's made me realise that I definitely probably do need to step up. And if I could be a role model for just one person within the community or any minority group, that's amazing. And since the World Cup, I've had a few messages on social media and Instagram, just people asking me about my journey and what they're going through and maybe their battles that they're having. So I think, yeah, it's important that I do take that role now and show that this sport is inclusive and we want equality and we want to embrace everyone. And I always think that when we're all on the court doesn't know anybody's differences, it just embraces all. So yeah, I want to step up to that role, and I think being a part of the World Cup has helped that, and if I can help one person, it's just amazing.
And is there anything more that we can do within the netball community to improve inclusivity for LGBTQ plus people in sport?
I think we're probably steps ahead maybe from some male sports that we see. I think as female sports, we definitely seem to embrace it more. And obviously we have the Rainbow Ladies campaigns, which I think are fantastic and celebrate Pride Month, and England Netball Stonewall Diversity Champions. There is a lot going on. I just think maybe possibly kind of from that grassroots level all the way to the Roses, I think there's always still we can do and kind of work on. And from grassroots, just maybe having those conversations, having those campaigns as well. And we could all do that even from Super League level to the Roses, just making sure coaches, players, fans, umpires, we're embracing everyone for who they are, no matter what level we're at.
Nat, thank you so much for speaking with us today. You and any athlete who have these conversations with us really are championing diversity and inclusivity in sport. So thank you very much.
Oh, no worries at all. Thank you.
Nat Panagarry talking to Martha, and the talk then about her becoming a role model, Sara, and you'll know this coaching her as well at Loughborough Lightning, that she definitely seems to want to embrace that, which is brilliant. But thank goodness, because she's a great talker as well. Have you seen a change in that?
Yeah, a little bit. I think, seeing her over World Cup, especially in Liverpool, I think she was a little bit taken aback for someone going to their first major tournament and then it being the Liverpool World Cup where, the fans went crazy, ticket sales were through the roof, the England girls were getting mobbed. I think Nat, it was a realisation for Nat that, you know, how many fans netball has and how much of an influence she can have. So I think it's definitely kind of triggered a bit of a change in her in terms of how she perceives herself, rather than just, you know, turn up, train, do your job. The sort of wider implications of what she's able to impact.
Not surprised, because the amount of guests that we have on, yourselves included, that actually can talk and do have a point to make too. But that becoming a role model, you've openly spoken about your relationship with Stacey. Now, were you celebrating, or did she re-propose to you? I saw there was an anniversary of something this week.
Yeah.
Any chance to show off the rock?
I did it first.
Oh, yeah. Any chance to show it off again? But actually, it's just a conversation that's had. Have you ever experienced anything that maybe thought that's not right within netball, or has it always been quite open to talk about?
No, not really. And I think what we are seeing now, though, is a shift and a change in culture generally. Like Tamsin will know, like we were really good friends, but like I massively struggled with my sexuality, and even telling close friends I found really difficult. And I think part of that was because I didn't want anything to detract from what I did on court. I didn't want to be the gay netballer, and I didn't want to kind of be put in a box, and that was all I was, and people forgot about who I was as a player and what I was trying to achieve. Whereas I think now athletes generally are much more willing to embrace who they are and what makes them different. And I think that is where sport's taken a bit of a turn, that, you know, people's differences are embraced, and we want to see the personalities and the characters, and that's what's giving our sport colour. You know, there have been trailblazers, and I think someone like Ash Graz in Australia has done a great job, Laura Clemesha, and you know, we've got Nat in this league. We've got, I don't want to out people, I'm not sure who's out or not. So we've got other people in our league, and it's never not been normal, but I think it's always been quite private. Whereas I think now it's becoming much more of a public thing to talk about, and people, funny Pride Month, people are proud about it, and so I think that's the kind of turn that we've seen probably in the last 5 years or so, and it's really positive to see.
Did it make you not less of a player, but were you playing within yourself when you didn't feel like you could talk about it?
I don't know. I think generally off court, I was much happier as soon as, you know, I'd told everyone and was able to feel like I was being myself, because regardless of the fact that I'd probably at the time would have said I wasn't hiding it, you're not showing your true self to people, and that's exhausting, trying to compartmentalise your life. So here I'm a netballer, and, you know, here I'm a student or whatever, and here is like a small space where I can just be me and be myself, and that was exhausting. And I think probably towards the end of my career, where I had less pressure on me generally, you know, I knew I was coming to the end of my career, I was enjoying my netball more. I didn't feel the need to try and prove myself all the time, whether that be on court or off it. I felt like I probably played some of my best netball and definitely enjoyed it much more than I had at the early stages of my career.
We know that the lockdown has caused a few problems. It's meant a delay on your wedding, hasn't it? Or where are we on the wedding? What's happening?
Yeah, the wedding is going to be delayed because selfishly the Suncorp didn't negotiate with me when they decided to move the dates. I think I probably missed the call, to be honest, but they've steamrolled right over our wedding. So now, hopefully it's going to be like the end of the year now. So we'll see, as long as this corona nonsense is over.
We are getting towards the end of the show this week. You'll both be delighted to hear. We've got some social to show you in just a moment. But the ANZ coming back, Suncorp as well. Tamsin, have you heard any more conversations? I am hoping you will tell us. But from a Scotland level to England, about how stuff's moving forward here in the UK?
No, it's slowly starting to happen, just like everything. You know, we're a country that's been affected worse than most, and so sadly that has had a massive knock-on effect to all the things that we love doing, and sport is no different. So I know there's still plans. I know they're still trying to look at things for the autumn. But there are bigger conversations, and that will take a whole other show, because players are out of contract soon, and there's all sorts of stuff happening behind the scenes. But look, I'm hoping that period between September to Christmas we'll be able to start getting back to some kind of normality. I don't think it'll be full out training and full out games, but it might start to push to that way, and you'd hope from an international level down that we're going to start to see some of that progress. But yeah, we've all just got to be vigilant with what's going on, haven't we? I've seen that grassroots is, there's bigger pictures there. We announced that I think it was last week, and smaller groups are starting to get together, and that will start to happen in the pro game as well. But we are still, a fair way behind whacking back into competition.
Well, get your scouting caps on, because you can watch the ANZ. Here's what's coming up over the next week or so on Sky. And whilst you're watching what's happening, you can also get your phones out and have a little look to our guide, our franchise by franchise guide to the ANZ Premiership, which is on the website now. Here are the silky skills of, is this Katrina Rore?
It is, yeah.
Footwork.
Now, could you tell that was her by her feet?
No, I could tell because I'd seen it before.
Oh. Cheat. I'm calling cheat. So, Tamsin, this was your pick from social this week. What impressed you about her?
Well, I think, I love any training drills anyway. Rory has become a bit of a star, hasn't she, after the World Cup? And we talked about that fitness and that training element from the Kiwis, which perhaps they've not always had in the past. And showing footage like that just shows that why they are world beaters. And I could definitely tell they weren't Sara's feet, by the way.
I was going to say, I would have to practice for probably about 3 years to be able to do that.
Yeah. Now this I found has probably gone viral this week. What is this, Tamsin Greenway?
So this is my autobiography. I was 12 when I wrote this at school, and I've been moving house a bit like Sara. So
pretentious.
But it was brilliant, because I'd actually put that I wanted to play goal attack for England. I'm not sure Joe was too happy with the marry a man that will cook, clean, wash, iron, but I think I was an early feminist. Like, look at me. But I still think there's one more challenge on there. So the England men's team, I am coming for you. Maybe not as a player, but coaching, who knows?
I thought your challenge was going to be to get married in jeans. I love the confidence of writing your autobiography at 12.
Yeah.
Enough happened to fill a book.
If you'd like to come up with a title for Tamsin's autobiography,
I would love to.
Yeah, use the hashtag #OFFTHECOURT. Love to know what that is. Nia Jones, me by the time netball's allowed to return. She's been on the old face imaging app. Nia, look at that. Gorgeous.
Well, I hope she's been on the face imaging app.
No, I'm just going to underline that fact. That's the end of the social for this week. I'm going to let you go, but we can hear you and watch you now on Netball Nation. Episodes up every Thursday to rival hours.
Yeah, Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts, Netball Nation, get another netball fix, as that's all we're getting right now.
Sara Bayman, as always, a pleasure. Tamsin Greenway, equally Sue. Equally Sue too. Sue at the weekends. We will see you next week. Oh, no, we won't. We're on Fortnightly now. That's just so we can watch the ANZ. Tamsin can do all the analysis on it and then come back to you. But we have a huge guest. I'm not going to tell you who it is, because Sara will go and nick it for Netball Nation. So we have a huge guest in 2 weeks' time.
I was like, you've just had a huge guest. Sorry.
Another huge guest in 2 weeks' time. Do you want to chip in as well, Tamsin? Shall we finish this show? And thank you for watching. Use the hashtag #OFFTHECOURT. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.